Welcome, Leah. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation and coming in as a guest this week. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to get to connect with you a little bit and share more about what these amazing kids I work with do.
Yeah, the topic and the work that you do actually inspired me a lot, and I was looking forward to this conversation and the philosophy that you are walking the talk is something I advocate as well. So I look forward to having a great conversation today. But before that, I want you to introduce yourself and tell us where are you joining from, what do you do exactly, and how this topic and this journey has motivated you to take on
Okay,
this path.
so I am Leah Ellis. I'm the founder and executive director of the Society of Child Entrepreneurs. So I teach kids 6 through 17 how to start, run, and manage their own businesses. And right now, all of our programs are in Kansas, which is smack dab in the middle of the USA. But we do have an online platform, and we're slowly starting to offer more things for people in an international audience that want the opportunity to teach their kids how to think like an entrepreneur.
Great. So Leah, you have a powerful message, like children are leaders now, not someday. What inspired this philosophy, and why do you believe adults are often the bottleneck?
Okay, so my oldest daughter started her first business at 4.5 because when she said, "Can I start a business?" I said no. And then she said, "But why?" And I realized I didn't have a really good answer for why she couldn't start a business.
Mm,
So I decided to let her try it. And now at 10 years old, she's running a program to feed the hungry in our community. She runs her own business. She made $500 in one day selling lemonade at an event. Like, she is an entrepreneur. She is a leader. She speaks at the House of Representatives and at City Council about the things that matter to her. And all of that came from the fact that as an adult, I didn't say, "No, you're a child, you can't do this." I said, "Okay, what support do you need from me to do that? And how are you going to do it?" And so I think that's the biggest thing is adults are so quick to say no. And
mm,
if we do more of asking what we want that to look like and what the kids want that to look like, they
mm.
already know how they want to make the world a better place. We just need to let them do it.
Beautiful. I was in a networking meet yesterday, and it was more about the education system versus the industry, and people from both ends were there. And as the generation has changed, the kind of generation we have now in schools and colleges versus us, the traditional education system. So there was a lot of discussion, like how the college can support this institutions can support the children in learning. At the same time, industry experts were talking about and how the Gen Zs, the current generation, is uh, very smart, very talented, and it is very difficult to use their talent. That's where it is. And the topic and the work that you're doing is I think at the right place, where this was not available for us when we were in school. That
Right.
And even when we were adults, I would say, still my parents would look at me and question me about my entrepreneurial journey. But
Yeah.
yes, uh, I would say we have come a long way, that you are able to give it to your kid, the power to see their idea become real. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So I was very excited yesterday in that meeting, and no, I took a lot of information in terms of how I can guide my children. Though we are very open to it, we are not forcing things. Like if they have an idea, we can of course, take a look at it. So, what was there a defining moment as a mother or educator that made you realize that children are capable of much more than we give them credit for? Is there something that you have to share here?
So recently my kid walks from school to my office, and she was walking to my office and she couldn't cross the street because there was too much traffic coming. And then one car stopped and she couldn't cross because the people going the other way didn't stop. And so then the first car honked at her because she wouldn't cross. And she was like, "I can't because the cars." She gets to my office. She walks in. She does not greet me with hello. She doesn't tell me, "How are you?" She looks at me and she says, "I need to go to city council."
Mm.
What? But hi? Why? She's like, we need another crosswalk. That is one is in a bad location. We need a crosswalk further from the school where it's safer for kids to cross. Within a week, she had done the research on why the location that she picked for a crosswalk was a better location for a crosswalk, written her speech that she wanted to take to city council, confirmed the next city council date, and then showed up at city council and during citizens comments got up on her chair and read to them what she thought was wrong and how they should fix it.
Beautiful.
Then she gave them a copy of her speech so that they had it for their records, and we went to dinner because that was just what she needed to do that afternoon. Well, the city of Goddard, where she gave that speech, has put a new crosswalk in their 2027 capital improvement plans. So next spring, they will put a crosswalk where she said they needed to be because she's
Wow.
the one who's actually on the street walking it. As adults, we don't see the problems that our kids are dealing with because we're not dealing with them. I never think about how hard it is to cross the street from her school to my office because I drive a car. I just drive back and forth. But for the kids who do walk that distance, it was really frustrating. And she was the kid who said, I know my voice matters. I'm going to go tell them to fix it. And they
Mhm.
said, oh my gosh, you're right. None of us ever thought about that. And we'll put a crosswalk where you suggested.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's how, like, the generation is way ahead, way talented, way smart, and in fact, the oldies, no, the or maybe the industry people sitting at a, at a higher position or experienced position, they don't know what to do with their talent, how to use that. I
Right.
think parents like you have given the environment and the tools that can help them children think, act, and move things forward, and we as adult
Absolutely.
we may not be noticing, and even if we notice, we may be taking time to take action also. That happens for adults. So
Right.
that's so beautiful.
Because a
And
grown up
moving
would
on.
have taken way longer than a week to go to the
Yeah.
city council because they would have had to do research. They would have had to figure out what the budget constraints were. They would have had to find out what the contracting companies were like. She was like, nope, we need a crosswalk. I'm going to go tell them to fix it. And then it's the grown up's job to go do it.
Yeah, and we often tend to uh, give it to the authorities to look at it, blame it on
Yes.
others, like, the weather, the government, and the people, the community, and like that. We don't take the ownership of taking that responsibility and
Yeah.
taking that action. So that's beautiful. So let's move on. How do you define leadership for a child?
Identifying a problem and being willing to talk to people about how to fix it. I mean, as a kid, you're not often going to be the one who has to go out and paint the crosswalk. You're not going to be the one who has to figure out how to put it in the budget. But as a child leader, you are going to be the person to identify problems, come
Hmm.
up with a few possible solutions to that problem, and then take it to the people who are in charge of implementing those solutions and tell them, this is the problem, these are your solutions. Will you help me? Because children are still limited in what they can do. And so they need to know who to give the responsibility to. But they're still allowed as leaders in their communities to say, hey, this is a problem. We need to fix it.
Yeah. So my meeting yesterday is coming, contributing to this conversation, because I heard the industry experts telling, like, uh, leadership is not hierarchical, or there is the traditional way of position and
Yeah.
designations. This is going to go away soon, maybe in a year or two, because the person who solves the problem would be taking the leadership, even in the corporate segment also. So
Right.
that's how they are seeing the younger generation handling life and corporate world also,
Right.
right?
We have a program here. It started in Kansas. It's called Kansas Leadership Center. But I've taken classes with people from Australia who are doing Kansas leadership training. And it comes down to adaptive leadership. And a problem in a community has to be solved by everybody in that community. Everybody is a leader for that problem, and everybody gets to have their opinion heard on how to fix it. All of the stakeholders and all of the shareholders. And so that means every problem has multiple leaders working to solve it, and not just one guy who's sitting at the front of the desk and saying, you do this, but instead it's a community leading. And a lot more gets done when more people are allowed to lead.
Yes. And can you share a little bit more about these program, like who can apply, and no, is it something that something you designed, or how is it, or how people can apply for this program? Can you give us a little background?
So what's really cool is for international people and people outside of just the state of Kansas, we have an online platform called the Sochi Circle. So it's SOCECIRCLE.com. And at the Sochi Circle, anybody can join and it's completely free. And every week I post a weekly challenge on some type of financial literacy, leadership, or entrepreneurship program that you can do at home. Just an easy 15 to 20-minute activity that you can do with your kids at home, or the students in your classroom, to really start to open up their mind to these thought processes. And then if you really love it, there is a $15 a month and a $45 a month option where you can actually download pre-written lesson plans or provide feedback on lessons that you've taught, everything like that. But
Hmm.
all of our programming I have actually written and developed myself based on the kids that I'm working with. So we've put about 20 kids through various entrepreneurship programs that we've written. And right now we have two girls, a student of mine, are working on a program to feed 250 of the unhoused people in our community. And so they're working on fundraising, the event space, where they're getting the food, where they're getting the volunteers. They're putting this entire thing on together. And I'm literally just the person with the checklist marking off what they've done. They're building the whole program on their own.
This is wonderful. Do share the link with me after this conversation. I will be sharing it on the podcast description when I release it, so that wherever people listen to this conversation, they can access the resources and get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, moving on, why do you believe entrepreneurship is one of the most powerful tools for teaching children life skills?
Entrepreneurship is one of the only times in life that you have complete and total freedom to choose what you want to do. And by giving them complete and total freedom to choose what they want to do and the opportunity to make money if they do things well, it gives them a real tangible result of what they're doing. When you tell a kid, all right, I need you to do this worksheet so that I can give you a good grade in class, that's not tangible. That doesn't matter to them. But when you tell a kid, I need you to practice writing a business plan so that you can launch your business and make money, it's tangible to them. They
Yeah,
feel why that matters. But as an educator, you're also using that business plan to teach them communication, to teach them problem solving, to teach them deliberation, to teach them discernment, all of these skills that they have to have as an adult,
yeah.
that are they're non-tangible skills that they have to have. But by connecting it to entrepreneurship, you've made it tangible to them. So they
Mhm.
want to learn, they want to do better, they want to earn more money. So you immediately have their buy-in. And once you have their buy-in, getting their participation is
Mhm.
way easier, and then having long-term effects lasts better because they care.
Mm, true. And I personally, being an entrepreneur for a decade, I think this was the scariest thing I did in my life. Though we started the point was to find freedom of time and money. That
Mm-hmm.
that's why we took this leap of faith and doing something that we love, and it makes a lot of sense, in the sense gives meaning to our life. And
Right.
eventually it's been a personal discovery, or maybe personal development in itself. Like, I have discovered my own self, my own potential, my own strengths and weaknesses, and how I can use it. And yeah, I think starting early on, you are giving them a very good foundation, where we may run into a lot of shame, guilt by the time we are adults and trying things new. But then they get to taste freedom very early when
Well,
they get started.
it works with, so In gross body skills and development of your large muscles, children have to do things like jump off of the swing set and learn how to do the monkey bars because they learn their body's physical limitations. But they have to have an avenue to learn their risk limitations for entrepreneurship, how to communicate. And so a program that teaches them how to run their own business helps them learn those other limitations when it's no risk.
Hmm.
They're not going to risk not being able to pay their mortgage or not being able to feed themselves if their entrepreneurship programs fail when they're 11. There's no risk, but there's so much reward. And learning
Mhm.
all of this as kids means they don't have to have the risk of trying to learn this when they're 35 with a mortgage and children to feed.
Yeah. So moving on, let's look at the world is changing rapidly with AI and technology. What skills do children need to become a future-ready leaders?
I think the biggest thing is that the kids need to know, one, their own problem solving. Like, you can't ask ChatGPT to solve every problem that you're ever going to have in your life. It's not going to be able to rearrange your house. It's not going to be able to set your alarms for you. It's not going to be able to make cooking, cleaning, laundry, or any of those things easier for you. You're going to have to be able to solve problems in your life. You're still going to need that critical thinking, that creative thinking, even as AI advances. And then I think the other thing is really solid language skills. Language learning models are super cool because they can help you write a really professional email.
Yeah.
Fabulous. But when we're looking face to face at each other, you still have to be able to talk to me, and you can't ask ChatGPT to script our conversation before we get there. So I think it's still vitally important that kids really practice language and communication in various forms so that they know how to behave in those different environments.
Very well said. So, Leah, I want to know, like, somebody who's watching this conversation, either live or over a replay, and if they want to connect with you, what are the best ways to reach you? Where are you most active on social media?
So we are definitely most active on Facebook, which is Society of Child Entrepreneurs. And then we also have a LinkedIn page where you can follow us and you can message me, and an Instagram page. So you can find us in all three of those places. And then if you just want to see what the kids are doing and see just news updates, our blog at sochiict.org, which is SOCEICT.org, has every time we do a press release, every time we do a project, I post everything about it there. So it's a really good way to stay on top of what the kids are doing.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, I'll be dropping all the links in the description so that people can reach out to you. So, moving on,
Absolutely.
what are some common mistakes well intentioned adults make that unintentionally limits the children's growth?
This one is so hard because I had like my own crisis of faith when I realized this one, because I felt like I had been hampering my daughter and I wasn't even realizing it.
Mhm.
And it hurts so much, but you are not your child's target audience. So if your child is building a business, they aren't building it to please you. Most likely their target audience is their peers. And so for my daughter, she designed something and I was like, I really don't think that's going to work. I see your idea, but I don't think it's going to work. Well, then she went and took it to market anyway, and she sold 4 or 5 of them to other kids her age, and I realized, "Oh, I wasn't her goal." And so I think we can hamper our children by expecting them to cater to our tastes.
Mm.
And we think what we know and what we want is what the consumers want. But they are closer to their target market than we are. So when they have an idea that they think will be successful, it's really important for us to go hands off and allow them to test it. And either way, it's a learning opportunity, because either they learn that that idea that they had was good and they learn they have good instincts, or they're going to design something that doesn't sell and they're going to be able to go back to the drawing board and reiterate. And every
Mm.
one of those failures and reiterations is learning persistence and problem solving and confidence. So either way, they're learning, but the hardest thing is being able to step back and understand that if you're not their target audience, your opinion isn't necessarily the one that matters,
Yeah. So
which
I
is
think
hard.
generally, no, we try to control, we try to make sure they don't, the protective parenting, where we want
Yeah,
them to play safe and no, don't fail, and we our knowledge itself limits them. So very rightly said, like their target audience is different there,
yeah,
uh, and we would our knowledge would come in their way of
yeah,
executing what they have in hand. Beautiful.
yeah.
So, moving on, if every parent watching today could implement just one change this week to empower their child, what would you recommend?
Okay. So this is my challenge for every educator, every parent, every grandparent, aunt, uncle, every adult who talks to children.
Mm,
They're going to come up to you with crazy ideas. That is what kids do. They're going to come up to you and be like, imagine if the trash can had wheels and it rolled around the house and could pick up all the trash can, all the trash all by itself. And you're going to want to be like, no, just pick up your trash. Like the trash can does not need wheels to pick up after you. Pick up after yourself, but don't do it. Instead of shutting them down and saying, no, that idea is not going to work, or here's the problems with that idea, ask them, how would that work?
mm,
Just stop. How would that work? How would you make sure it didn't pick up toys instead of trash? How would you make sure it didn't run over something that was important?
yeah.
How would you get that to work through small spaces? And so then instead of shutting down their creativity, you're encouraging the development of their problem solving, because now they have to say, oh, I didn't think about that, or oh, I did think about this, and this is how it's going to work. And then you can ask, how does it work? And when they've answered those questions and you feel like maybe something they're onto something, then you can say, what do you need from me to make that happen? What
Mm,
are the first steps you would do so that you can go practice this for real life? So I think at the end of the day, and it's really, really, really hard, but the biggest thing adults can do is be curious and ask the kids a lot of questions. Just ask more questions.
yeah, and make it relevant rather than trying to find faults or maybe trying to look smarter than them. And no, as I
Right.
said, I know I know better than you. That can rather being curious and being creative in really in letting them unleash their imagination and see how they can make it possible. So very beautiful reminder, Leah.
Right. Well, and they are so clever and so creative. And when we ask them how, it's also building their confidence because it shows that you believe in them. You
Yes.
didn't shut them down, you gave them opportunity to continue. And that builds a better relationship for you and them also.
And I think that would actually give them a belief system that they are building in a having the code that they have from us, like the foundation is very strong where they have that confidence and you know uh, the ability to take things forward rather than doubting themselves or feeling
Right.
not enough, and so getting that validation from our us or parents or educators helps them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, I think this is going to be the last question from me. Looking ahead, what is your vision for a world where children are trusted to lead?
So I get a little frustrated because I feel like our generation of adults are rather apathetic. We've started to get to the point where we don't care. We don't feel like our voices matter. We don't feel like we can fix anything. And I would like to envision a world where the adults know that their voices matter because they've been practicing it their whole lives. They know what steps to take to have legislation changed because they've talked to their community leaders before.
Mm,
I want a world where the adults aren't afraid of the people in charge
mm,
because they know that they're just other humans,
yes.
and they're not afraid to hold their feet to the fire a little bit and say, like, hey, this system isn't working, so what are we going to do to fix it? Rather than just apathetically saying, well, this is the system and this is how it's always been and this is how it's always going to be. Because, I mean, how many adults walked through the crosswalk and said, oh, this is a bad place for a crosswalk, before a 10-year-old said, wait, just paint another crosswalk.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful reminder for all of us, not just not for the children, but for us to really show them or be in that zone where children look up and say like you can own it, you have a voice, you have a message, you can voice it out, you can share it, you don't have to hide and ignore and
Yeah,
move, accept the way life it is. Instead, taking responsibility and taking that ownership and moving ahead. Beautiful conversation, Leah. I had I like since yesterday I've been looking at from the perspective of an older generation, and I have a young talent to to give them guidance and mentorship that uh, create I don't become a roadblock in their growth and
right.
success. That's where I am. And this conversation actually uh, took like you are working with very young kids like 5 and 12
Yeah,
is a it's like the foundation of your adulthood, where you acquire those belief systems from how adults perceive you, and they give you that validation. So thank you so much, and I'm really happy and proud that you're doing this work. And I wish that this program that you're doing reaches globally. Millions and billions of children are benefited by this, and parents are inspired and empowered to guide their children, and even the
I hope so.
educators.
I hope so. I hope that more kids have the opportunity to see a problem and create a solution, rather than seeing a problem and having to just accept it as the way things are.
Yeah. Any closing message for the audience?
I think my closing message always is that children are not the future. Children are strong and capable leaders right now, and the only thing holding them back is the adults who are afraid to ask questions. So find a child and ask them what they would like to see better in their world, and then help them make it happen.
Beautiful. I loved it. Thank you so much. This is so encouraging to hear this. And I know I would say you will be the pioneer in this space in creating these pathways for young children, and very happy for you. Thank you so
Thank
much
you so much.
for being on my show, and take care. Have a great day ahead. I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you. You